podcast. Hope everybody's having a great week. Um, Not too much going on in the sports world as far as high school. Some major news, of course, with recruiting, but no major sports really last week. We break a lot of kids out, enjoying vacation, and things like that. But Craig, how you feeling today? What are some topics you're excited to talk about?
Feeling good. I think the recruiting news is huge. Georgia gets Elias Williams, and then Ohio State gets Aaron Nolan. So I think that one kind of evens out. Two just incredible athletes right there.
No, for sure. And that's what we're going to get into to start. Obviously, other topics we're talking about some NBA action that's going to happen tonight, playing games involving the Hawks and the Heat, and obviously the Lakers and the Timberwolves. And we're getting to a series that we're most excited to see, obviously. And then after that, we'll get into some quick college football, college basketball news, and things like that. And then we'll wrap the show after that. But let's go and get started with the high school element. I want to start with Ethan Christian, a guy we've seen multiple times on TV at the Georgia Elite Classic. He finally commits to Georgia Southern. They're getting a great dynamic playmaker, an offense that was really rolling last year with Aaron Vila at the helm and 1,000 yard receivers. Couldn't really be stopped. You saw it in the title game, absolutely going off. So I think Georgia Southern gets another playmaker to add to the realm of their offense, and I think it's a great move for him.
Yeah, and it's kind of unprecedented. I don't remember seeing someone kind of land this late in the game.
Yeah.
But he's obviously been trying to prove himself. He had a huge performance in the state championship, balled out at Georgia Elite. He's been going to these camps. His teammates have been blowing up too, and I think it just finally worked out for him. It's a credit to his coaches as well, getting that film out there. And he's a true playmaker. You look at that team. He obviously had his big games, but he shared the load. And then you put him in that all-star setting, and he shines there too. So I think he can be a top guy. He can plug in there, and I think he 100% is going to make that receiving core better. He had 77 catches last year alone. Had a great career at Prince Avenue Christian. Has a ton of experience, and I mean he is a just a really big deep threat. He's tough. He also played defense, so he's not afraid of contact. I think he's ready to show the Eagles what he can do.
For sure. So good move for him. We're happy, excited that he's moving on to the next level and playing some D1 ball. So that will be a great story to follow as the years come and seeing how he performs there. But definitely got to talk about one of the biggest news. Obviously, Aaron Nolan committing to Ohio State. The statement we made. You talked about a little bit on your show yesterday, Craig. We talked about it in the office as well. Saying going to a place where they develop black quarterbacks, which I don't disagree with. I mean, you got the two guys coming in, obviously. Justin Fields still has to prove himself more, but I mean, again, he's been a great talent there for the Bears. We'll see how that obviously shakes out. But he was a top pick a couple years ago, and then you got C.J. Stroud, who could potentially be the number one overall pick. We'll see what Carolina decides to do. But just what do you think of that statement and him actually going to Ohio State?
I think it's a perfect fit for him. I think he will do great there. What I was enjoying looking at yesterday, though, was what he was talking about and what his parents were talking about, how he's really been training for this since he was 3 years old. And you look at him now, and it's like you can tell this guy was born to be a quarterback. He threw like I think he said he took 250 snaps from his dad every single day since he was like 3 years old. Uh, was a great baseball player too. Decided, no, I'm going to focus on football, and this is his dream coming to fruition. Landing the Ohio State um, spot right now before his senior year. He's got a state championship already. He had a great sophomore season. So I really think just heading into this year, it's just going to be about him continuing to improve. I don't know what else he can improve on, to be honest with you, but just more of the same. Having another great season. He came one touchdown away from setting the single season state record last year. His team did break the scoring record, so maybe we'll see a record setting season, a potential repeat of the state title, and then he leaves Georgia just as one of the all time best. And there's going to be so much excitement around him at Ohio State from the moment he gets there.
No, for sure. I think the interesting thing storyline to watch this season is seeing how the young guys, obviously from Langston Hughes, step up and how quickly they're able to come up to scale with obviously Aaron Nolan and how that fits together. Obviously, they got JoJo Stone transferred over from Grayson. So that'll be a great piece. They're not going to have Jelani Thurman, who's obviously going to Ohio State, who will get to play with when he goes there, but no Bo Hughley either. So I think it'll be interesting to see how they look offensive line wise, and then how they look as far as their weapons and things like that. Because they won't have, I believe, Jaden Barnes anymore. or whether I believe they graduated and are moving on to the next level. So be interesting to see how that all comes together. But no, again, I had a feeling it was going to be between Ohio State or Miami. I did a prediction video. I don't know how I was right, but somehow I was. But I figured it'd be Ohio State based off what he said, kind of looking at their program, what they look for in a quarterback, and then just looking at kind of the landscape of what's been going on as far as recruiting role, as far as quarterbacks. I knew it wasn't going to be Michigan. Obviously, wasn't there for him. J.D. Davis went there, but I knew it wasn't going to be Miami, especially after kind of Judd Anderson, committed it from Jones County. I was like, I don't really see that anymore. So I think it's going to be a great fit. I think it's going to go ball out there.
Yeah, and obviously they've had some really solid receivers. They're gonna plug him around, but I just think Jelani Thurman there, he's gonna be such a huge impact player. They have that familiarity. I think he was the best tight end in the country last year, and so I think him being there before that's gonna help even more. But I just think once he shows up, he's going to. I think he's going to take the college football world by storm. I really do, and obviously has the name recognition,
Yeah,
Aaron Nolan. But he just, when you watch him play, he has so much patience. He doesn't make throws he doesn't need to. He takes advantage of any opportunity, gets all his teammates involved. That's the ideal quarterback you want to play for.
exactly. Totally agree with you there. And we had some more news actually last night. Obviously, we were always talking at night with major news happening on the recruiting room. But major bombshell, Craig. I mean, Aaron Philo decommitted from Minnesota. Me, you were talking about it. You said possibly Michigan, which is not actually a bad pick. I mean, that would be really intriguing. But I think for his future, and you guys are going to call me crazy for this, but I think he should go either, down south. I think he should go either I think Clemson's interested going there potentially for him. I think an ACC school or Georgia Tech. Now, why I say Georgia Tech? Georgia Tech is a program. Again, I've been saying it for a little while now. The program on the rise, and they're going to be more competitive next year. Don't expect them to, make the national title game or make the college football playoff, but they're going to be more competitive in the ACC nonetheless. But he got a couple guys that are already there from Prince Avenue Christian that's going there. Bailey Stockton's one of them. So I mean, got obviously that there, building a rapport with the coaches. So I think that'll be a really good move, either Clemson or Georgia Tech. Philo. It was interesting because I think he committed a couple of months ago, or less than a month ago. So it's interesting to see him kind of decommit and to see where he goes. But I think Georgia Tech and Clemson will definitely be in the running for him.
Yes, and he runs a unique offense. You watch Prince Avenue play, he really is incredible. He's not necessarily even reading the field. He'll take the snap, look left, and then the way they run the route patterns, he just knows exactly when to throw it. His guys have great timing with him. So wherever he goes in college, I believe that same offensive system is going to follow him, and they have that air raid style. So if you want someone to lead just a high-powered, aggressive offense that's going to air it out, he's definitely the guy. I mean, he's done it every single year. He's following in the footsteps of Greg Vandergriff. That was his mentor. He steps right in, comes close to a state title. His first year starting, they fell to an unbelievable Trinity Christian team, and then last year, you get what he did throughout the playoffs, and then in that championship game, it was unbelievable. Just how successful that offense is throwing the ball. No one has figured out how to stop it. They're truly changing the game at the high school level with it. But it is a unique system, the way he takes the snaps, uses the misdirection, and then just is able to hit these quick routes over the middle, all the different screen plays. They're a team that does kind of pass it 80% of the time. So if he goes to Georgia Tech, it's not typically the style of offense we've seen there. Obviously, they're changing a ton of things. People don't really think of Georgia Tech as some high octane air raid offense, but you see his teammate going there, Bailey Stockton. You see all these changes. Maybe that exciting new brand, new identity is the place for him at Georgia Tech.
I would expound on what you just said too, kind of them changing the guard. And when you think about it, you've kind of read about this a lot, right? Getting speed. So when you
Yep.
get speed, a lot of times you'll see you getting the ball in the playmaker's hands, airing the ball out, things like that. Like you said, they landed Bryce Dobson, who's, I think he broke a potential record in track. Got the right
300-meter hurdles.
Yeah, 300-meter hurdles, right? So you got him going there. I mean, you got a whole bunch of guys that are super speedy or going to Georgia Tech. So obviously, I think they're going to change some things up with the regime. And who knows? They might try to go instead of the run dominant, run heavy thing. They might try to go, air raid attack and potentially air the ball out. I think that'd be a good move, but obviously we'll see. Again, that's just kind of a two teams I think will be a good fit for Philo to see where he goes. But obviously those are just predictions, and we'll see where he goes. But Craig, you had some other news and updates you wanted to talk about today. So what else did you see in the row?
Well, I think you were mentioning how you kind of knew Aaron Nolan was going there. Judd Anderson, the Jones County quarterback, committed to Miami. That was probably a couple days before, right?
Yeah, I think before. Yep.
So that's a big commitment as well. I mean, Jones County last year, they came out of that region with Warner Robins, North Side, a lot of Dutchtown was in that one too. They all kind of beat each other, and then Jones County obviously made a ton of noise. I think they'll be an interesting team to watch. Judd Anderson, their star quarterback. Saw some other. I wrote down some other ones. Yeah, the Elias Williams. That's a big
huge.
get. He's still 2025. So he did on the basketball court, football field. He's huge. Caden Williams, running back. He recently committed.
Liberty.
Saw Woodward Academy, Andrew Hines. They have so much talent. That's just one for us. See if he stays there.
And that's not including Miles Graham. He's going to Florida. Goes there too.
And then when I was looking just at the class of 2025, they don't have too much of the rankings updated. They only have about the top 10 guys, but it's like 6 of them are from Buford. That team next year at Buford will probably televise a bunch of their games. I'm telling you, from their senior class, junior, sophomore, there's going to be potentially like 30 to 40 players that are going to go on to the next level. That's just insane to think about, just how much talent's concentrated there. And so I think that's one of the things I've started just when we've been talking to these coaches, kind of thinking about how this next upcoming season is going to shape up. I think Buford's a huge storyline for sure. They're going to want to come back with a vengeance. But you look across 7A, Colquitt County, no one should be sleeping on them. They have a huge senior class coming back. You talk about Carrollton, all their playmakers. You saw Caleb Odom, just a beast at the high school level. He's balling out basketball. You got Juju at quarterback, Walton, Milton, all these teams. I just think 7A is going to be really interesting. Can't sleep on Mill Creek either.
No.
Yeah, they just had their senior Aiden Banfield. He just committed to UNC.
Yep.
Gosh, I mean, you looked at their team last year, you didn't even realize how much talent they had up front.
Ridiculous.
They got Cam Robinson. That was his first year starting at running back. He turned into one of the best running backs in the league. Can't count them out. They just run such an efficient system and maximize their talent.
Yep.
And then I just think 6A, we talked about Hughes. I think they are going to look a little different, though. It's not just on the offensive line losing their big guy, lose Thornton on the defensive line. He was so disruptive. Baxter Wright in that championship game was literally running for his life, and he could eat up double teams. He really helped out. So who's going to step up on the defensive front? There's just a bunch of other teams in 6A, I think, that are going to be competitive. You got your Houston counties, Lee counties. Roswell was great last year.
Houston County, I think, is returning. I think the senior class was it Houston County? Yeah, I think their senior class is up to like 30.
Jeez, that's a huge number.
Yeah, I mean it's up there, and like I said, I think they're going to take a big step forward. Like they're going to have Ryan Sleeves going to be senior, the lead running back. Antoine Hill is a highly rated 2025 prospect. At the quarterback position, I think he's like in the class of the state. You got him coming back. You got Ricky Johnson, Jeremy Blue's been taking some steps forward. So you got some studs that for Houston County is going to be interesting. I think 6A can't sleep on. Obviously, it's going to be Langston classification to lose. But again, teams I'm looking at is Houston County, Lee County, as you said. I think Woodward Academy is going to be really good. They got a bunch of top prospects on their team: C.J. Hurd, Miles Graham, Andrew Hines, Jerome Bettis Jr., Josiah Abdullah. I mean, Ben Grice, an underrated player. They got so many weapons, and it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, those are players that we saw Josiah, Georgia Lee. I haven't seen anyone that's able to actually guard him, shut him down. He goes off every single game. So when you have those dangerous playmakers, watch out.
Yeah.
And then didn't they have a new quarterback coming in that has experience? I forgot who it was, but
Yes,
he did get significant time.
that's gonna be interesting. I actually talked to the coach. They're gonna actually kinda have a QB battle, so that's gonna be
Yep,
interesting to see who comes out, of that and who's gonna be the starter. I think that's the biggest question mark for the team, but anything else on your team, I think they're good. But yeah, the guy that came in, uh, starter that they had last year, it's gonna be interesting.
for sure. And then once again with 5A, I think that one's going to be more wide open than it was
Oh, for
last
sure.
year. Um,
Kale's in there.
and
You can't
then
sleep on Creekside.
we got to talk about
Yeah,
excited that game that they have scheduled. I think that's huge. It's got to be televised, but that's a huge opportunity for them. And I just remember it was probably 6 years ago. Cedar Grove was playing. It might have been uh, Fort Spain or some Alabama powerhouse on ESPN. They were nationally ranked. Cedar Grove wasn't. This was when they first started winning these state titles, and they went over there. Spanish Fort had twice as many guys on their roster, and they beat them. And I think that was when a 3A school beat a 7A Alabama school. People started saying, "Okay, Cedar Grove has something special going on," and I think Creekside's in that similar situation. They're playing, as you said, probably best team, second best team in the entire country the last several seasons, and that's a big trip. It's only the third out of state game that he played in the last decade. So just shows the respect that Creekside has been getting as a program, and this matchup kind of opened up, and they actually reached out to Creekside for
yeah,
them to play. So that's huge. Everyone knows Eric Berry went there, but still, for them to say, okay, we've had all this success, but we feel like this would be a good competitive football game for high school football at large. I think that is a huge opportunity for them.
for sure. And then to talk about that a little bit more, it's gonna be really interesting because obviously Mater Dei has, I believe, 7 to 8 prospects in the top 100 of the 247 sports rankings, right? But the biggest thing is their head coach, right, Frank McManus. He's taking over for the first time. He has no head coaching experience going into this season. He does have coaching experience. He's done defensive backs and things like that. But they're not going to have their head coach for 46 plus years of coaching experience and 33 years there at Mater Dei. Bruce Rollinson, right? He's stepping down. He's retiring. So that's you going into that game too, not having their coach anymore. Frank McManus having to step up with a lot of talent. So I think that's going to be interesting to see how they come out, how they're going to look as a team this year. Again, you have talent, but you can't sleep on the coaching as well in the high school level. So I think that's going to be interesting and another storyline to actually watch for this game too.
And we're talking to Coach Dixon about it. Obviously, they're a team that prides itself on running the ball. We were looking at the highlights from last year's Corky Kell
Yeah,
against Rome. The way their defense kept them in that game despite the offensive struggles was really impressive. They're coming out, they're opening against Kennesaw Mountain this year. I think they're going to come out a lot more focused, polished, and ready to go, especially with that big Mater Day looming. So we'll get a good opportunity to see them out the gates and then kind of compare it to where they are a couple of weeks into the season. But I just expect them, just after last year playing a great game against Rome, coming up short, they very easily could have won it. I think they're going to give a pretty good test to Kennesaw Mountain.
no, for sure. I mean, they're going to be tested early and often. Obviously, Kennesaw Mountain, St. Peter's Prep from New Jersey, and then obviously Mater Day. So they're going to be tested early and often. I think the biggest thing is their running game. I think will be there again. Obviously, Roger McCray had a phenomenal season last year, 1400 plus yards, 17 touchdowns. But I think the biggest thing is going to be Vincent Berry. What kind of development is he going to have from junior to senior season? They're going to need him to improve. They want to actually get a shot and actually contend for a title. I mean, they're pretty much there every year. The last 2 losses in the playoffs have been to Warner Robins, right? Warner Robins, I think, going to take a little bit of a step back at 5A. They're not going to have their head coach Marcus Westbrook, who's gotten like I think 6 straight state finals. He's not there anymore. He switched schools, so I think it's going to be interesting to see how they look. But I think obviously Creekside will be there when it's said and done, contending. I mean, got to put them in there. Got to put Kale. Um, and I think Cambridge in that region is going to take a little bit of a step back because they're losing all their seniors. No Will Taylor, no Christian Isabor. Preston Clemmer is going to still be there, but I think it's going to be tough losing all those weapons. But yeah, I think 5A, like you said, will come down to kind of those teams.
Yeah, I really like Kell Creekside. Ware County, we'll see what they look like. And Can't count out Cartersville. Can't count out Calhoun, Hiram. I'm going to try to get probably Dalton on next week too. I think they might have good opportunity this year, but yeah, I'm really interested to see how that plays out. But big 5A matchups in the Corky Kell this year, and I like that we'll get to see pretty much the teams that we consider to be the top brass in the Corky Kell, and then we get to see them play some really big national games soon after.
No, for sure. And before we transition, Craig, any other major news you've seen from the high school realm?
I think I do want to touch on 4A a little bit. I think that's another classification we saw last year. Benedictine had a great run to the state championships. You had Cedartown was great all year. I really think Stockbridge, though, might be my dark horse. They have so much returning talent. They've been great across the board. Had a solid basketball team this last year, too. Tons of athletes. Great track and field, too. Um, and then I think the same region we saw last year with Whitewater, Stars Mill, LaGrange, and once again, that is going, and Trinity Christian, that's going to be arguably one of the best regions in the entire state this year.
No, for sure. I mean, I think 4A, yeah, that'll definitely be intriguing. As you said, some of those teams are losing some of the talent. Obviously, North Laconia is one of them. Cedartown's another one. So I think 4A high playoffs gonna be interesting. Can Troop County, get over the hump? They've had some good teams. Dale Ties obviously a stud at the quarterback position, but they've kind of fell up a little bit short. So can they, make a run this potential season and make some noise? I think that'll be
Yeah,
interesting.
and speaking of 4A, just in terms of basketball, you were talking about Holy Innocents, some of the prospects you saw. I think that's really interesting because Holy Innocents, uh, that's a solid team. They haven't really had guys like that, but they're in that same region with Pace Academy, who that was their first year in 4A last year. They proved top to bottom in terms of coaching, players, playing as a team. Uh, they just ran through that playoff run so successful. We had a huge win in the state championship over Fayette County, but you add some star power to a Holy Innocents, and I think that could potentially be an outstanding basketball matchup.
4A is gonna be crazy this year as far
Yeah.
as basketball. I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, you obviously got Anderson with Lovett.
Yep.
You're gonna have Pace Academy, who's the JC champions. Eric Chatfield is getting better and better. You couple that with Kyle Green, who's really good for Pace Academy. Sharma White's a all-time legendary head coach. Like you said, Holly Innocence is in there. Can't forget about them. Just those
McDonough.
McDonough's in there. That's gonna be interesting. They're gonna lose a lot of their talent, but I seen Keenan Gray was out there playing at the tip-off class this past weekend for Scoot Henderson's team. What kind of steps he's going to take forward. He's going to be the main leader of the team next year. 4A basketball is going to be, and then you got obviously Caleb Wilson who's scoring a high instance. I mean, 4A basketball
Yeah.
next year is going to be insane. And, I mean, what I seen this weekend was, it just makes you like, well, like, this is going to be really intriguing, a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. It didn't. There's some teams that they have, oh, these are two sport guys and they're playing all these other sports. And then you go to an event like you went to. Yeah, there were some two sport guys there, but they're just like the super athletes that are dominating every sport. But there's some true basketball players that you were seeing, and it
Yeah,
just shows it's year round for them.
yeah,
They're gonna come out next year, and they're still developing, still in high school, and they're definitely gonna raise the bar. But
for
I
sure.
think any classification that has a Charmin White team in it, that's gonna be it's gonna be exciting.
For sure. And we're gonna leave the high school there for you guys, but a lot of fun details. It's gonna be a great season coming up for both basketball and football. So make sure you guys keep it tapped for here to get the coverage. But we had a former UNC star, Caleb Pope, actually transferred to Michigan. So I wanted to see Craig's thoughts on that, and if he thinks it'll be a good fit, essentially under Jawan Howard, who's been kind of linked to some NBA teams and some potential openings as well. But what do you think about that move?
Yeah, what I was looking at, Caleb Love, he had a great turn. They won the national championship 2 years ago, correct?
No, they didn't win. They lost.
UNC?
Yeah, they lost.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
they made
They
it.
made the
He had a
championship game
huge
though.
game in the Final Four,
Yep.
great tournament, and then they were saying that he could have potentially entered the draft at that point.
Which he probably should have.
Yeah, exactly. And he comes back. UNC has a really inconsistent year. They don't even make the tournament. He is their leading scorer. So I think it makes sense because obviously he wants to go to the next level. He wants to have a big season, kind of gain that strike while the iron's hot around his name. So I mean, I think it's a good fit, and Michigan is. I think this is the third transfer they've welcomed in. Got Amari Burnett from Bama. I don't know how good he is, but Bama was obviously a great team. And the guy from Seton Hall. So Michigan's trying to make moves.
Yeah, they're one of those teams that, each year you'll see a team like kind of like a UConn, like, wow, they just kinda made a run out of nowhere. You didn't really expect them to go this deep and win it all. Michigan's like one of those teams. Can get hot, get the right players in, and make, do tournament runs and things like that and contend for a title. So I think it'll be interesting to see. Now, obviously, they're gonna get a great guard who can facilitate, get his own shot. Obviously, he had to get better with his three-point shot. That one year they had that really deep tournament run, he was shooting the ball pretty good, but last year was at like 29%. So obviously, that's gonna have to be better and kind of the decision making as well. But we'll see. I mean, I think that's a good move for Michigan, and we'll see long term if that helps and elevates his career.
Yeah, I don't blame him at all for leaving UNC after this last season. Uh, he was there. He led them on a huge run, as we said, and he's obviously. I mean, he could have left early. Now he needs to kind of reestablish himself, and I think if he can fit in at a new school and have another great season, lead them, I think his stock will definitely go up.
Definitely. But we're gonna leave that there. Stars, Aaliyah Boston was taken first overall last night by the Indiana Fever. I think a great pickup for them. She's a phenomenal player and a talent. Really plays the forward position well. Great rebounder, good in the post. Really makes the defense pay. She's good at blocking shots, holding down the interior. I think it's a great move.
She is, she is really good. I was watching some of her film, and I mean, obviously South Carolina's been top women's program the last few seasons. It was the first round of last year's NCAA tournament. They were up 38-2 on Howard in the first round, and I don't think they would have had that margin if it wasn't for her defense and her offense. She provides both. She's from the U.S. Virgin Islands. She's the first number one overall pick from the U.S. Virgin Islands since Tim Duncan in 1997, which
Wow.
was the year that the WNBA was created. When you're a number one overall pick from the U.S. Virgin Islands, you know you are just that physical, uh, just outstanding prospect. I mean, she didn't come up from one of these areas that just has all these great high school basketball schools. I mean, she was a star. She got recruited. She's excelled at every single level, and now she made history with Tim Duncan. I went to the U.S. Virgin Islands probably like 15 years ago. I got to see where Tim Duncan grew up, and it's pretty amazing what he meant to that area. I mean, he didn't even really play basketball back then. He was a swimmer. Uh, the U.S. Virgin Islands got hit really hard by a hurricane. It ruined all the pools, and then he started just playing basketball and developing his skills. Eventually, went number one in the draft, and now the WNBA has the same.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she's gonna be a great pickup for them. As you said, South Carolina in the recent memory, last couple of years have been dominating women's college basketball. It used to be UConn, but they'll see if they can get back up to the mountaintop. But South Carolina has definitely been there. Only one loss the past couple of seasons, so they have been playing really well. And Dawn Staley's obviously doing a good job with that group. So we'll see how that pans out. But other college news, I was just looking up some recruiting news, Craig. Obviously, we mentioned Elias Williams going to Georgia. They just landed, actually, I think, another four-star for the UGA program in Nitro Showtime Tuggle. He is from Indiana. Well, excuse me, three-star, 6'3", 190. He just committed there as well. So them landing him, and then they got a visit from 6'6", offensive lineman. And then Edric Houston actually, I think, recently visited there, and he's going to announce his commitment date later for the season. So, what do you think about the moves that Georgia's making right now, and just kind of retooling and kind of getting their roster ready?
They're dominating. Um, I mean, I don't think Georgia used to have the mindset where they would go after the sophomores and freshmen with early offers. They were kind of the in-state program that would wait around. They're not doing that anymore. They already offered Peyton Zachary still as a freshman. They're being more aggressive. So I think that they've obviously earned that. They had the back-to-back national championships. But yeah, you look at this class, they're currently number one, and then you pull up, you mentioned the class of 2025 right now. if you look at the top, let's look at the top 10 players.
It's insane.
They got Elias Williams, he's number 3. Jaden Perlow, number 4. Buford, Justice Terry, number 5. He's committed, and so that's already 3 in the top 5.
All from Georgia, by the way.
And yeah, and then you mentioned the freshman class. Peyton Zachary's already offered, so making big moves with the underclassmen, and then currently class of 2024, number 1 in the country right now. They still have an opportunity to add some more names. So there are a ton of prospects in the state of Georgia right now. I think Ohio State's doing a great job. Other teams doing a great job, but I've been really impressed with what Georgia's been landing.
No, I agree with you. I mean, I think they are next level right now, and they've really been doing a good job
Yeah,
of landing
Dwight Phillips too, the fastest guy in the entire country.
for sure. I thought the move too. We're going to talk about Georgia Tech really quick, guys, as well. I thought this move here was interesting. They landed him, I believe. When did he commit? November 21st. Jakari Williams from First Presbyterian Day, 4-star. Really good player. I think that was a good commitment for them, as far as long term for the program. But what do you think about kind of that move? Have you seen a lot of First Presbyterian Day as well, as far as the football realm in Georgia?
Yeah, I mean they're always a playoff team. It's honestly that class. It's not the same classification now, but it was just dominated by Prince Avenue Christian the last few years and Trinity Christian. So they haven't had as much talent, and but they still, I mean, they've been a playoff caliber team that's been getting it done. And it's what I was talking about. It's like the Class A's, the Class 2A's. It's really hard for them. I talked to Lincoln County yesterday. Their entire school was 340 kids. They had 25 kids on the roster in 2020. He had 14 kids at his first practice. And so it's not that these 3 stars or 4 stars from there aren't just playing. In some cases they're better. They play both sides of the ball. They lead. They sometimes, like, your quarterback's playing safety. But the reason they can't compete is it's just a roster. It's just a number thing. So I think, yeah, I need to look a little more into him. But obviously he's getting attention if Georgia Tech's offering him.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But all right, guys, that's what we got as far as our college news around basketball and football for the day. We're going to keep it going and go to our third segment and wrap up the show. Odell Beckham, as we've seen in our comment section, somebody said they think he kind of overpaid for him. 1 year, $18 million for Odell. He's going to be going to the Ravens, and I think the biggest question that we both want to know is, will this kind of keep Lamar in town?
Well, it seems to be the purpose. I don't know if it will work, but it seems like that move was specifically made for that. It is a big contract. You said 18 million, 15 guaranteed.
Yeah.
People are going to talk about Todd Monken. He's reuniting with OBJ. He was the coordinator in Cleveland the last time. OBJ went for 1,000 yards in a season. I mean, obviously he's great. It's just, it almost seems like Lamar was frustrated there for whatever reason. Obviously, he wants that contract that matches the market, but it's like at this point, like signing a guy like OBJ, it almost feels like too little, too late. Also, it's like, well, would have been nice to have him last season or have another guy like that the year before. And so,
yeah,
we'll see if it works. But I definitely think it's a move that makes the Ravens look like they're doing everything they can to try to make them happy.
For sure, and I actually heard that Lamar openly recruited him as well. That's been reports allegedly. So I mean, we'll see. I mean, that would suck for OBJ. I mean, at least he got his money, but that would suck to, be kind of recruited, or a guy like Lamar wants you to come play with him, and then he all of a sudden leaves. But we'll see. I don't get the talk of saying that the Bengals should be scared now because they got OBJ. I mean, we've seen him before. I mean, we have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, so I don't know where that's coming from, of us being scared of that. But, good for them. We like to see our teams get better.
That's
in our
such
division.
a good point, though. As a Bengals fan, obviously you like Lamar Jackson, but it almost seems like you guys have been the team to beat in that division. Typically, if things were more stable in terms of these negotiations,
Mm-hmm.
the Ravens would be asking the question, do we build to beat Cincinnati or do we build to try to be the team of the division? But instead, it just seems like this saga is really consuming all the focus for the Ravens right now.
For sure. And I mean, even the AFC North is one of the tougher divisions in football. And it's tough like having to play the Ravens twice a year, having to play the Steelers twice a year. Even if they're not necessarily good, they're going to be competitive. They're going to play smash mouth football. It's going to be tough. But no, I mean, as a fan, I always want the other team to be at their best. I always want it to be competitive football. I don't want us to just be a cakewalk or be how the AFC East was for years. Like just easy money. You're gonna win the division. Okay, the Patriots are locked. It doesn't matter with the Jets, the Bills. This is before obviously they got Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs and all them. But you knew that New England was a lock. So no, we like competition. We're not scared of no move. We want them to be competitive. That's the whole point of it. So nah, I'm not really. I mean, good. All I have to say is good for them. We'll see if they're able to keep Lamar, and we'll see what they look like down the line.
Well, yeah, and it wasn't a situation where it's like the backup came in and it's like, oh well, we could get by with that. It's like it really is hinging on Lamar, if he's going to be there or not. So I mean, they're in a tough spot for sure.
They are, and the key thing too is I came in even on the show. If you go back to our other episodes, y'all, I even said that I wanted Lamar to play if healthy. Against us in the playoff game. Like I want you to play with your full horses because I don't want it to be an excuse. Oh, they only won because Lamar didn't play. I don't want to hear that. Like, put your best out on the field. So, no, good for them. Good move. I wouldn't have paid that much for Odell though, knowing his injury history, knowing how often he misses games. I wouldn't have paid that much. But hey, he got his back. I ain't gonna hit another man's back. But they paid a lot to get him. So we'll see what happens if they can keep Lamar and. We'll see how it looks for the season.
Has any other team out there as a potential landing spot made any statements? Obviously, the Falcons said they weren't interested a few weeks ago, but I mean, has it shrunk at all? Is it just still staying the same?
It's kind of stagnant right now. I mean, there's no real teams. I mean, the Panthers are probably going to select their number one. The Houston's going to select their number one. I mean, Houston would be silly to go get Will Anderson and not get a quarterback. I mean, I don't understand if they do that in the draft. But no, there's no real. If you ask me, I don't think there's no teams out there really in the QB market. Yeah. Maybe Washington, maybe, but they like Sam Howell.
Yeah, and we're 2 weeks away from the draft, so I mean, this can't go on forever.
Unless, like you said, but we still have the Aaron Rodgers news too. I mean, there's still no trade or anything that's happening. He's still technically a Green Bay Packer. He was said he wants to be a New York Jet, but there's no deal. So maybe we'll see something for the draft. I mean, the draft is a crazy time, Craig. I'm not going to lie. You'll be seeing some of the weirdest things. Like when I think Marquise Brown got traded from the Ravens to the Cardinals, like nobody predicted that. So we never know.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't know. It just seems like he is a Raven, but
yeah, I
just can't imagine him playing for another team. But it's just like it's very interesting. The OBJ move is exciting. There, it seems like there is some movement to what's going on.
For sure. But we're going to leave it there. We're going to move to some NBA action. Not too many news in the NFL world, y'all. Obviously, everybody's gearing up for the draft and things like that. Soon you'll have OTAs and mini camps and training camp and all that. But no major news right now as the dust settles. The draft will be really interesting when that comes around. And actually a couple of weeks when we get into that and some of the moves there. But any favorite potential series that you or you're looking forward to in the playoffs? Obviously, the play-in is today, as I mentioned at the top of the show. Hawks and Heat going to play, and Lakers and Timberwolves going to play. But any matchups this weekend, I think it's going to be great. But any matchups you're looking out for?
Yeah, well, it seems like these play-in games have pretty heavy favorites. So I still think it'll be interesting to watch. I mean, last time I checked, everyone was picking the Lakers. Everyone's picking the Heat. But I don't know. I'm interested in the Suns. They were on a really good hot streak. I think won 7 straight, and then obviously been resting everyone the last couple of games. But they'd be an interesting team. I think it's going to be a good series too with the Clippers. They win that one, and who knows? It's definitely a question mark with KD.
That's going to be interesting because they're undefeated actually with KD in the lineup. And obviously we know he's an all-time great, right? Shoots 50, 40, 90 almost every season, right? Scoring the points he scores. A little bit of an injury history, but we know how great KD is, right? He can pretty much seamlessly fit in any team he goes to. So I think it's going to be intriguing, right? How much in the tank does Chris Paul have left, right? You got the Russ versus KD thing as well. Them two going at each other, former teammates. Obviously it's not at the high altitude as it was when, he was still in OKC and then KD went to the Warriors, right? But still, that's there. And then I think it's going to be interesting to match up with KD and Kawhi because he's probably going to guard him. how much can he force him into tough shots, and then, Paul George is hurt. When does he come back in this series? He's going to miss the start of the series, as from reports. So when does he come in? I think it's an intriguing. I think it's one of the best first round matchups we've had in a while. So I think that's going to be a really intriguing matchup. I think the Warriors and the Kings are going to be interesting too, right? You got the familiarity with Mike Brown, him coaching under Steve Kerr for so long, right? Him having his own team being the 3 seed. Steph, the Splash Brothers, they're tough to stop. The Kings getting their first playoff, since 2003,
Yeah,
I
no, it's
think.
been a
I mean, it's
while.
been a while, so no experience really. So I think Jalen Rose, when I watched the Get Up, brought up a great point, right? The 6th, 7th, and 8th seeds potentially, or even the 5, 6, and 7s, they all have championship experience, right? Kawhi Leonard's won a title, KD's won a title, as well, playing on the Suns. You got the Warriors. They've won. They're defending champions. They just won a title. The Lakers and LeBron and AD have championship experience. So I think the bottom seeds, that's the most intriguing part. A lot of the top seeds have never won, right? Memphis has never won. Denver has never won. Kings are just getting back to playoffs the first time since 2003. But all the lower seeds have that championship experience. So I think it's going to be intriguing. And don't be surprised if we see 6 or 7 game series.
Yeah, and that certainly would kind of prove what people have been thinking about the NBA, where it's the postseason is different from the regular season. You see the stars, they're out with injuries. The team doesn't really come together to the end. Uh, these teams that have been not in deep into the playoffs, like the Kings lately, it's like they just did what they needed to do during the regular season. But yeah, is it a different style of game? Yes, absolutely. But we'll see how different it is. What do you think about the pressure on a guy like Doc Rivers, though?
I think it's immense. That's such a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. I think it's immense. I think if they don't make either a conference finals berth or a finals berth, he's gone. I think that's it. And you've already had kind of James Harden linked to rumors of going back to Houston potentially. And they don't have the coaching anymore. Steven Sauce, they're going in a different direction, right? A lot of young cats on there, but he's been rumored there too. But yeah, I think that it's immense. If they go out, let's say first or second round, he's done. Like that's it, because you've been there for a couple years now. They traded for James Harden and got him with Embiid, who I think should be the MVP this season. I think he's had a better year to me than Jokic. No offense, I know Jokic is the 1 seed or the 3, but I think as far as impact on the team, it goes to Embiid. I think he should win it. But yeah, I think it's immense, man. You got so much time, and then you got a third pretty much star in Tyrese Maxey who can, get his own shot, create for others. Really good when James Harden's off the floor. So I think it's immense.
No, for sure. And then it's not just the success of not getting deep; it's just in the game sevens, those
They
decisive games.
fold
Yeah, they have not
under
been.
Rivers.
Yeah, they have not been good. So they need
No.
it. They definitely need a strong playoff run this year. But I don't know. I think the playing games will be interesting. I want to see how good the Lakers look. I want to see if the Hawks can do anything against Miami, who people are saying is probably going to be a dangerous team heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, they're saying a lot of people are saying that Boston should not want to play Miami in the postseason, but I haven't seen it this year from Miami. Maybe it's like you said. Maybe the playoffs are different. They're waiting for that, and that's what takes away from the regular season too. I feel like too, and I don't like, because playoff basketball I feel like is so different because everybody's bought in, right? The players are, the coaches are. There's no off days. Well, technically there's off days between the games, but there's no resting players. There's none of that. It's all in. And sometimes you wish that for the regular season, which I think to an effect, Craig, is actually taken and really kind of diluted the game in the regular season, where it's almost not unwatchable, but not a lot of people tune in, right? Maybe more so with the national games, but not so much. Playoffs, you have more people tuning in because it's more of a competitive level, I think, of basketball. And all the stars, unless they're hurt, are playing.
Well, the regular season is definitely better than what the All-Star game has turned into.
Oh, for sure. I mean, they obviously have to fix that. I mean, I totally agree with you. Obviously the NFL had this problem a few years ago too, and had to fix their game, and they ended up doing away with it and just doing kind of the flag football and things like that. No, but I totally agree with you. But I mean, hopefully, obviously they just did a CBA negotiation and just agreed to it, and it's still going to be 82 games, which I don't get. They just need to lessen the games. But I mean, obviously we'll see, how it looks. But I love NBA basketball. It's one of my favorite ones to watch. Obviously, NFL playoffs are up there for me too, but I think NBA postseason is something different.
Absolutely. The game sevens, just even the do or die games, you can't really beat that.
No, and them high pressure leverage moments, legacies on the
Yep.
line, For sure. And last question on the NBA, just any team in the East you think could possibly, obviously you mentioned Miami, but it could be a dark horse to potentially, go on a run and win it. Because I don't think Golden State was on anybody's radar last year.
In the East.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Just to make a run.
I'll go with the Celtics.
Okay. Okay. Like the Celtics this
Yeah,
year. Yeah.
I think they could come out of the East.
I'm guessing you're going to take them over if they play in the conference finals against potentially the Bucks. You would take them over there, which I think if they played each other, I think that'd be an incredible series. I think that'd go 7 games too.
Yeah, I've just seen a lot of people walking around rocking the Celtics gear. I don't know. There's some excitement around them.
Okay, okay, I respect that, Craig. I respect that. I mean, East for me, I think I'm gonna give the slight edge to the Bucks. I just think Giannis wants it a little bit more. He's itching to get back to the finals. Guy's a stud. And I like kind of just how the roster is around him with Drew Holiday, a defensive stopper, also can create his own shot. Chris Middleton still getting healthy and things like that. But I think that series between those two will be good. And I think the one last thing before we wrap, I think the Knicks and the Cavaliers series would be really interesting because the Knicks had a chance to land Donovan Mitchell, but they didn't. Ended up getting Jalen Brunson, who is obviously not bad off either. But you know, if they beat them, I mean, obviously that's going to always be there because I think the other piece they needed to trade was RJ Barrett, who's kind of had a down year. I mean, Julius Randle's had an All Pro type of season this year, probably second or third team potentially, but uh, RJ Barrett, and they just paid him all that money too. So he hasn't had the season they were hoping. So I think that's going to be an interesting series too between those two.
100%. And yeah, the playoffs. This is where you see what your team really looks like and how to build for the future. And it's a big conversation, or even around the Hawks and Trae Young and whether he can get it done or not. It's like once you see them in that playoff environment, that's when you know what areas you need to improve. So big game tonight for sure for just the future of the franchises.
I agree. But before we wrap, Craig, any other things you wanted to highlight before we go for today and see our fans next week?
Um, well, I know we talked to a lot of people that went down to the Masters. I'm sure that was fun. Obviously, have one day of bad weather, but I think it's always nice to see. It is a pretty incredible course. I love seeing just how perfect it looks. I always wonder, do they even have squirrels on that golf course? It's like
It's such a good
imagine,
question.
imagine being a squirrel. It's like I picked this tree, and then next thing you know, it's the Masters. But
Yeah, you see
yeah,
all
it
these
seems
people.
like it's almost just like a biodome. It's fake, but it's fake. It looks so nice, but I don't know. I just enjoy seeing it, and it's just a friendly reminder of how much I suck at golf.
For sure. I'm not gonna lie. I've been, trying to get into golf more so the past couple of seasons, past couple of years, and I'm not gonna lie. The shot making that last day was incredible. I mean, Rom, Kopeka, like Mickelson, that last round was incredible in the back nine. I mean, I loved watching that. It really, kept me in tune as a fan as well. So, just definitely wanted to point that out.
They make it look so easy. And I will also say I've had plantar fasciitis on my foot for pretty much all of 2023. So I really felt for Tiger, man. Walking, he was the only player that didn't have an umbrella. It's rainy, it's cold. You know how when the weather's off, it kind of makes your joints hurt even more. It's like you could tell he was in a lot of pain. That was tough to see, but thought overall, I mean, it was exciting. And then just with golf right now, there's that whole kind of rivalry going on with who's the live golfers, who's not. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I don't know. I think it was exciting. It wasn't the most thrilling Masters ever, but at the end of the day, it was a pretty good few days.
Yeah, for sure. But guys, I want to say thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed that episode. Remember, we are live every Tuesday at noon. Go on score ATL.com, get all of our latest content. My rankings just came out for lacrosse. Not too many major movements as the spring break, only a couple teams played. And obviously, a story on West Forsyth lacrosse is up as well. Craig will be dropping his baseball rankings here soon in a couple of days. And then we got soccer playoffs kicking off now as well. So go to ScoreTL for all the updates. And then, Craig, any major people you're going to have on your show for tomorrow?
I'm going to try to get Dalton Kip Carpenter.
Dalton Carpenter. Okay, so stay tuned for that. Craig will be live as well tomorrow, same time, same channel on YouTube, on our Twitch handles with a show. And I'll be live Thursday. Lot to talk about. Quick preview. I'm going to be talking about the Tip Off Classic, which I think is an incredible event. It really blew me away, all the top talent I've seen at the event. And then obviously I'll get into some recruitment news and things like that, break down the tell of the tape, and then obviously talk a little bit about spring sports and things like that. So hope you guys enjoy it. We will see you guys soon next week, and have a great rest of the week. Peace.